The 77th book that I completed in 2024 is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I read this, or I listened to this book rather, and at first, it came so heralded. It has such a reputation, and it's very famous, and it was number one on the New York Times bestseller list. And so I had high expectations for this book, and at first, I really didn't like it. He comes out firing with the curse words, firing with the F words. And I'm not a prude, but it just seemed gratuitous to me at first. And then he kind of calms it down a little bit. And basically, what this book is his argument is that we have to give an F to not give an F, that we need to be careful about what we give an F about, that we are a global society, and that we need to love each other instead of criticizing each other, and that we need to have our priorities straight. He couches his philosophy, I suppose. He couches it in really excellent narratives and excellent stories, and I think that that's one of the reasons why maybe this book is so popular, because there's so many stories that one of them is going to hit you. One of them is going to be relatable, at least one, and one of them is going to have a profound effect on you. Toward the end of the book, he discusses his friend who he lost in an accident when he was 19 years old. I also lost a very good friend when I was 19 years old. So obviously my ears perk up. I start listening very carefully to that, and I can relate. But really, I think what makes this book interesting, what makes it brilliant, is that he's talking. It's a book about Stoicism, with a little existentialism and a little Buddhism mixed in. But mostly, I think, Stoicism. And I think Mark Manson has to know that. He has to be a Stoic himself and an expert on that topic. But he doesn't really ever use that word. He doesn't use the word. He uses it toward the end of the book, and he uses the word Buddhist, and he uses the word existential at the end of the book. But he never uses those words to describe his book. He uses those words to describe some of the feelings that he has in the stories that he tells. So I would recommend the book. It's a self-improvement book for sure. But it's filled with really good advice. And I have to admit, last year I read a lot of books on Stoicism, and I read a lot of books on Buddhism, and some of them, because there was a lack of narrative, because they were more definitive in style, struck me as a little cold. This book did not strike me that way at all. I do think it's supposed to be funny in places, and I don't think I ever laughed out loud. So I didn't find it to be humorous, but I did find it to be an interesting illustration of various philosophical ideas. So I do recommend it.